Good evening, everybody. We're doing a sound check. Check 1, 2. Sound good?
It's just like anything else. This is kind of a new thing sometimes, and technology does not always work the way we want it to. But we are back online, and I do apologize for the lateness of our start. But I would now like to call the meeting to order. And I have a statement to read that this meeting is being recorded. The recording will be posted on the Northern Lehigh School Media YouTube channel. All votes this evening will be roll call votes. Reminder to school board members to please state your name when you are making a motion and when you are seconding a motion. With that in mind, I will call the meeting to order. If we can pledge to the flag in our own way, I would appreciate that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now we will move on to roll call, please. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha. Mr. Disler?
Mr. Disler here.
Mr. Green?
Do we lose him again?
Mr. Green?
Okay. He's here. I can see he's on yet, but.
Ms. Heckman?
Here.
Ms. Husak? Here. Mr. Keegan?
Here.
Mr. Kern?
Here.
Ms. Culp?
Here.
Ms. Martineau?
Here.
Mr. Fedorcha?
Here.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Okay, there we go. Okay. I believe we have 9 members. Is that correct, Mrs. Husak?
That's correct.
Thank you very much. Public comment. Please understand that, as always, we will try to do our best with the public comment, having you, if you're in the public who would like to speak to an issue that is on our agenda. I will recognize that at that time. If there's other items that are not on our agenda, but you would like to speak to or address the board, I will accept those at the end of the meeting, as we always would do. Moving on. I will accept a motion to approve the minutes of the special board meeting held on July 20th. Do I have a motion to approve?
Mrs. Culp, so moved.
Do I have a second?
This is Rob.
Martineau, second.
Okay, we have a moved and second. Mrs. Husak?
Mr. Disler?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Husak? Yes. Mr. Keegan?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Ms. Culp?
Yes.
Ms. Martineau?
Yes.
Mr. Fedorcha?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to special reports, I will refer to you again, Mrs. Husak.
Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha.
Yes, go ahead.
I did, the Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit did have their meeting July 20th. Unfortunately, due to our special board meeting, I was unable to attend. But they are going through the same thing as all the districts are this currently, is going through their health and safety plan and what their reopening will look like. As of right now, they are still scheduled to open on time and as scheduled, full everybody in. We'll see what happens at our next meeting if that continues. Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha.
Thank you. Lehigh Career and Technical Institute, we do not hold a July meeting. We did not hold a July meeting. Because we do not hold a July meeting and our meeting is at the end of the month, in June, the board adopted an opening of school for our students at LCTI. That was approved and has been on our website since that time. It does mirror those districts who are going hybrid. We will be doing it in the same manner, in which there'll be half of the classes on Monday and Tuesday, off on Wednesday for instruction, and then Thursday and Friday for the other half. And as I said, it follows pretty well most of the districts, or all of the districts right now, that are on the hybrid schedule. That's really all I have for today, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows that that has been approved and has been on their website. Legislative, Mrs. Heckman.
Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha. I'm going to defer my legislative update to the superintendent's report, since all legislative updates are kind of in relation to the health and safety plan. So we will discuss any changes there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Heckman. Mr. Green, Lehigh Carbon Community College.
Nothing significant tonight, Gary. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. In your packets, you have received the minutes of the Education Policy Committees and all the other committees for your perusal. I will then go to Mr. Stroll for the Solicitor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha. I do have one item to bring to the board's attention today. Last month, the legislature passed Act 73, which updated and amended a section of the school code pertaining to sudden cardiac arrest and electrocardiogram testing. The key items in the new act are that PDE is going to create training and equipment guidelines that they will be providing to the schools. Also, the districts will be required to provide student athletes a packet for every year of school athletics that they would be required to sign a form that they received information on sudden cardiac arrest, certain signs and symptoms. Also, coaches will be required to be annually trained under the new act, and there are requirements for student athletes. If there is a student who exhibits symptoms of sudden cardiac arrest, they must immediately be removed from any athletics until they are cleared. Also, if they are reported to have a cardiac arrest or cardiac arrest symptoms in between games, they cannot go into future games until they are cleared by physicians. So those are the main items from that new statute. That does go into effect 60 days from passage, which I believe is September 12th. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Attorney Stroll? Seeing none, moving on then. Dr. Stoker, Assistant Superintendent's report.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I have two items on the agenda for this evening. Summer professional development. In preparation for this school year, whether that be in-person, hybrid, or virtual, we're preparing for any circumstance. Our teachers have been offered professional development this summer. Some of these sessions that we currently have available are TPAC, which is Technology, Pedagogy, Content Knowledge, where teachers can take an in-person classroom lesson that they have, and they can decide what technology would be best to deploy that lesson, and then they can create that as a hybrid or a virtual lesson. We have Google Classroom sessions that are being offered on a personal basis by our Google team to our new teachers, our inductees, and any teacher that would like to take that session with one of our Google team members. And they are looking to either build or enhance their Google classrooms for this upcoming school year. We have best practices for student engagement. So anyone who is looking to be in the virtual environment, how to engage students in either a synchronous or asynchronous lessons. And we have Nearpod, which is another offering that we're putting out this week, which essentially takes a digital tool and allows teachers to create a lesson to be engaging with students, again, in that online environment using the Nearpod application. So continuing to offer summer professional development to teachers, and then also in our in-service days coming up, so that they're prepared for whatever environment we may find ourselves in this fall. As far as a grant update, just to let everybody know that our ESSER grants and our PCCD COVID grants are underway. The PCCD COVID grant, we received $182,692. That is a grant that we have been using to purchase PPE gear for the district. That includes things like cleaning and disinfectant products like quat, alcohol, our pump sprayers, temperature scanners. We have gloves, masks, eyewear, face shields. We purchased quite a bit of plexiglass to separate any areas that have high traffic flow. In our cafeterias, we have slated to purchase carts and warming and cooling devices for the delivery of lunches if we need to do that in the classrooms, or if we're able to do that in our cafeteria, no longer using trays, but being able to wrap items individually to keep, conscious of less people handling food. We also have hand sanitization stations that have been purchased. They've been spread around the district. I think we have about 100 of those within all of our buildings. And those are electronics. You can just put your hands underneath, and as students or faculty members walk into the district, they can use those to sanitize their hands. We have stickers for social distancing that we put a Northern Lehigh tag onto. So we have those for our hallways. We have traffic flow arrows and other demarcation of how flow will be in our buildings, as well as spacing of students and people as they walk through the buildings. We also, as we developed our plan, have cards and bookmarks and those pieces of paper that go out to families so that they're aware of what our plan entails. We also have water that we purchased. We're expecting that students will bring water bottles, but in order to not be using the water fountains that we have in the buildings, we purchased additional water for both our athletes, and then if anybody in the building needs water throughout the school day as well. So those are some of the things that we purchased through the PCCD COVID grant. We also have the ESSER grant, which we are using mainly for technology, and that's to prepare for what learning environment we may see ourselves in the fall. So we have purchased additional Chromebooks, cases, Lightspeed Classroom, which is an online management tool for our teachers to use as they engage students. We also have remote learning setups, which include a camera and microphone, and we have monitors that so people can watch the teachers as they're teaching in their classrooms, the students. And then we have some money in there that we've set aside for Bulldog Academy, which is our online platform that we use in our district. So those are just some of the updates. The PCCD COVID grant, which we're using for PPE gear, needs to be expended by October. So we're trying to purchase as much as we can and get that expended. Some of the things are on back order and a little bit delayed because at this point, everyone's trying to get their PPE gear. But I think that our administrative team is doing a really good job of sourcing those materials and getting them into the district as soon as we can. And then the ESSER grant, we have a little bit longer of a period to spend that. We have until September of 2022 to spend that. So that's the update with regard to technology and some of our grants that are supporting our learning environment come this fall. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, moving on then to our business managers, Mrs. Multuris and Mrs. France.
We don't have anything tonight, Mr. Fedorcha.
Okay, thank you. Then we shall move into our superintendent's report, Mr. Link.
Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha. Tonight, I'm going to have two components to my update. It will address our health and safety reopening plan, and I will also address sports in Northern Lehigh School District. And hopefully that will trigger some discussion with our school board on both topics. Tonight, after much reflection, I have decided to recommend to the school board a change to our previously approved health and safety plan for the reopening of schools. I am now firmly recommending to the school board that we transition to a hybrid model, or what the state is calling a blended model. My recommendation is based on reaching the safest environment for the greatest number of people in a school building at one time. Now knowing the numbers based on survey results, feedback from some of the community, feedback from the NLEA, that's our Northern Lehigh Education Association, the Teachers Association, and my own personal reflection on the matter, It is my belief the only way to open schools as safely as possible is to implement the hybrid option. This is my recommendation and that of the administration as well. It is also my understanding this model has the full support of the Teachers Association. I thank them for their cooperation, their patience, and their assistance in solving the many problems that are presented to us on an almost daily schedule. By a hybrid schedule, what I am proposing is that on a Monday and Tuesday, Group A is in our buildings for in-school, in-person instruction. Group B participates in remote learning on Monday and Tuesday. Group A would be students with the last names of A through L, and Group B would be students with the last name of M through Z. Those two groups would then flip on Thursday and Friday. So Group A would be engaged in remote learning on Thursday and Friday, and Group B would be in person in the school buildings. Wednesdays, all students would engage in remote learning. Teachers and support staff would continue to be in the building. We would utilize that day to do additional disinfecting and cleaning of the buildings and the buses. That will be occurring on a daily basis. Wednesday would give us an opportunity to really elevate that disinfecting and cleaning time. I am also recommending that, surprisingly, at about noon today, PDE, in conjunction with the Department of Health, released new guidance for how school districts should determine which model they implement. We had no prior knowledge that the new PDE guidance was to be released today. Their guidance recommends using a level of community transmission by each county. What I mean by that is they break it down by incident rate per 100,000 residents for the most recent 7 days, or the percent of positivity for cases for the most recent 7 days. So what I mean by that is a low level of transmission is considered if there are less than 10 incident rates per 100,000 residents, or less than 5% positivity. Moderate is anywhere from 10 through 99 incident rate per 100,000 residents, or 5 to 10% positivity rate. Substantial is greater than 100% incident rate, or greater than incident rate per 100,000 residents, or greater than 10% positivity rate. Both Lehigh and Northampton County, the two counties which are our host counties for the school district, are in the moderate level. So Lehigh County is at 28.3 cases per 100,000 residents, and Northampton County is at 27.9 incident cases per 100,000 residents per the PDE website right now, on the Department of Health website. So as you see, PDE is also now recommending that school districts follow the model, the hybrid model, or the blended model, as they're also calling it, which is now what we are recommending for Northern Lehigh School District. PDD defines the hybrid learning model as any model in which the number of students in a school building is reduced to allow for social distancing of 6 feet. This may be accomplished in many ways, including split schedules, schedules that rotate by day or week, or similar approaches. For these recommendations, blended learning also includes scaffolded approaches that treat grade levels in a different manner. So in other words, one grade level could do one implementation, maybe day by day, and another grade level would do it week by week. We are not recommending that. We are recommending a consistent Group A Monday and Tuesday, in school, in person, Group B remote learning. Group A for Thursday and Friday do remote learning, and Group B do in school, in person. All students are engaged in remote learning on a Wednesday. Additionally, I recommend that we commit to the hybrid model for the entire first marking period, which ends on November 4th, 2020. I also recommend that we allow for flexibility for our students with special needs and allow them to attend for 4 days a week. Again, the last name breakdown is Group A, A through L, Group B, M through Z. We would make accommodations for families with different last names of children in the same household to work with their principal directly and select whether they are Group A or Group B for the children in that household. At this time, for my part of this, for this part of the superintendent's update, I am opening it up to board comment and discussion as it relates to the recommendation for us going to a hybrid model.
Hi, Mr. Link. It's Michelle Heckman.
Hi, Mrs. Heckman.
Hi. Can you explain a little bit more in depth how the teachers will handle the continuity of education when Group A is in school and Group B is at home? Will they have the same teacher? So will Group A, who's in school on Monday and Tuesday, have the same teacher for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday? And if so, how will that in-person / online integration kind of play out?
Sure. So the teachers that are in their classrooms teaching are obviously 4 days a week and have children in the classroom in front of them. Much fewer children. We are very confident that we can get to the 6-foot mark now in all the settings. And also we will have reduced ridership on the buses simply by, splitting the student body pretty much in half. While students are at home, they will be participating in asynchronous and synchronous learning. And what I mean by that, some of the stuff they will have to do, work on assignments independently, but every student will be able to contact a teacher live or a support staff member while they are at home, be that, whichever 2 days that they are home. And that will also be available for students on a Wednesday while teachers are also doing planning to support students, reaching out to them while they were at home for 3 days of the week. We are additionally looking at having our support staff not only have an active presence in our classrooms, but also in the online model, reaching out to students, especially on those Wednesdays. For students at home, we heard what everyone was saying, and it needs to be more contact with our employees, our teachers and support staff, even when they are at home. This does not mean that teachers will be live streaming lessons like 7 hours a day while the children are at home. However, children will have access to our teachers and support staff while they are at home.
Okay. Mr. Link, this is Gary Fedorcha. One question for you is that I know you suggested that we go for the 1 marking period, and I support that tremendously. With that in mind, though, if things do not change in any direction, we would continue that? Would that probably be a recommendation that you would have so that there would be that continuity? And I say that if there's no real change into either the recommendations from the state or the virus itself. Am I to assume that?
If Lehigh and Northampton County, and the recommendation is to consider, so a district that's in split, they have 2 counties, the recommendation coming from PDE and the Department of Health, my interpretation of it is to go with the county that has the highest rate. So if neither county is below 10 cases per 100,000 or that 5% mark, I would recommend that we continue to follow the same guidance. If we drop below that threshold, then I would say we have to reconsider it.
Okay, that makes sense, and I just kind of wanted that a little clearer. I'd just like to make one other statement on that suggestion to the parents. I think there's also been some misunderstanding on what our Bulldog Academy is, and I think some of our parents thought that Bulldog Academy was being taught by our own teachers, and that is not correct. It's supported by us, it's governed by us, but it is not by them. Is that correct, sir?
Yeah, so Bulldog Academy is a third-party vendor, which means that they work closely with us, but that is traditionally in Bulldog Academy, for the way we've been implementing it, it's non-Northern Lehigh teachers teaching that content and that curriculum.
Thank you. Anybody else want to ask any questions? Board-wise?
Yes.
Mr. Link, this is Mrs. Martineau. I did want to ask, is there, if the hybrid model goes through, is there going to be an option for the parents that were suggesting they wanted to do Bulldog Academy? Will they be able to select fully at home without doing Bulldog Academy now?
Yeah, we are not recommending removing Bulldog Academy. However, we wanted to be clear that Bulldog Academy is going to be more asynchronous work. In other words, they're going to have less contact with the staff, the third-party staff that implements Bulldog Academy for us. If they want to do 5 days a week, we are looking at offering that option as well, where they could have contact with our teachers to support them directly. So for example, at the elementary levels, we are looking at having a designated teacher be almost per grade level instructing those students. We're also looking at the middle school level at times throughout the day, in the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, teachers on the teams being available to support those students at home, field their questions as well. And then at the high school level, that building has building operations time built into their schedule, where we would also look at having teachers, in addition to that Wednesday, being able to respond to questions from students or having kind of like one-to-one sessions with students as they need it. So, you know, if a family is comfortable going, you know, with Bulldog Academy, I just want them to realize that they're going to have pretty much minimal contact with our teaching staff.
Mr. Link. Go ahead, Bob.
I have a question about, you mentioned live streaming and that there wouldn't be 7 hours of live streaming, which I understand. Is there any live streaming where the teacher would be teaching a class live and students sitting at home receiving the same instruction?
That would be more likely to occur on daily at the lower levels, like the elementary levels, where we're looking at having a dedicated teacher be available online for those students. As we progress up through the grades, it's less likely that we're streaming live from the classrooms where there's other children, but we will have teachers and support staff available to support students when they're in a remote session. And we're looking at kind of implementing more of a flipped classroom model, where when those kids then come into the classroom, the teachers can really dig down into the content with them when they're back in the classroom those 2 days.
Okay, what prompted my question is that I know there are students whose parents do not want them on camera or a picture taken, or there may be special needs students in a classroom, but I know that as an organization, we could have designated seating if that were to occur, that the camera wouldn't see those students. Has that been taken into account in any type of streaming classroom?
Yeah, so we are currently looking through those scenarios right now, how a camera could be arranged in a classroom and what we could do to protect the confidentiality of students in those rooms. You know, the guidance coming down from our legal advisors is that it's really no different than having a visitor walk through the school and seeing children in classrooms. However, we're sensitive to the fact that it is being live streamed. So we're trying to mitigate any of those concerns as we work through that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Link, maybe you said this and I missed it, on how our schedule coordinates with LCTI.
Thank you, Mr. Kern. I did not specifically reference that. For our high school students, our schedule would be, and Mr. Velocity, chime in here if I'm incorrect, our schedule would mirror their schedule.
That is accurate, sir.
We've also received notification from them as well today, and Mrs. Dada, correct me if I'm incorrect here, that they would also allow 4 days for students with special needs.
Correct. Correct. Mr. Link, this is Mrs. Martineau again. I'm sorry. I'm not sure that my question, or that I heard the answer to my question. If parents Bulldog Academy aside, I'm not talking about Bulldog Academy. The parents that were thinking about switching over to that when we were going back 5 days a week, because they were, fearful. Now that there's a hybrid option in a few days a week in, a few days a week out, would they be able to choose to be the whole week out and still be with Northern Lehigh teachers?
Not in Bulldog.
No.
But
Not
that's
Bulldog at all. Us,
right.
just us.
Yeah, so that's what we're working on right now. It's easier for us to implement that at the elementary levels. At the middle school and high school level, it would not be where they're getting live instruction each day. Much of that would still be asynchronous, meaning they would have to do a lot of work independently, but there would be opportunities through those teachers' team times and building operations times to reach out and support those students and see how they're doing and answer their questions. In other words, the expectation from administration and the conversations that we've been having with our teachers is that we know that we need to be more available on a daily basis for students that want to participate in online learning.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Mr. Link. Gail.
Yes, Gail. Gail, before I answer your question, I would kind of like to say one more thing. I know that this is a change from where we were when we recommended 5 days back in. But we've also listened to a lot of the feedback from the community. We also continue to look at the guidance coming down from the Department of Education and the Department of Health. We've also been looking at what happens in other states where their students are already back and their districts have opened up with all students in 5 days a week and how quickly they've had to go to a shutdown model, a full remote model. I know that this is not easy. I understand that it's not easy for families to necessarily plan daycare like this within 3 weeks. We believe it's the safest model. Now knowing what we see happening in other districts, the guidance that came out at noon today, it literally just came out today from PDE with the county recommendations. And I know it's not, for some families, it's going to create additional barriers, and we're cognizant of that. We're trying to frame everything now with the information that we have as of today, information leading up today, and of course, like we've been doing in safety. I'm sorry, Gail, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's all right. You took some of my comments, so thank you. Just wanted to say, I want to thank the administration and the board that we're talking about this. We did open it up. We did listen to the teachers. We did listen to our community. We did listen to the administration and the staff. So, but like you said, this is not an easy decision for anybody, or even for you to sit up there and talk about making some of these changes, especially knowing that literally guidance came out this afternoon. And we're asking the districts to change on a dime, and want to thank the administration and the teachers for doing that. And as we move forward, I think collectively we can be successful. A couple of the questions I do have, Mr. Link, one would be the current grading system. Will that go back into effect going back into the fall of 2020, unlike the end of the spring?
We are not looking at doing a pass-fail.
Great.
Yes. That's not something that we even want to consider.
Perfect. So to piggyback on that, knowing that some students learn a lot differently, both in the classroom as well as online learning, and what does that look like? I think you touched on it a little bit, but how will students be able to get in touch with those teachers to do a one-on-one? If it's an in-person, if it's an online, will those teachers have set times to be able to do that? Will they be more available than what they were at the springtime last year?
Yeah, so as recently as our conversations with administration today, and even with some association representatives, it was to kind of schedule times, either per like a building-wide schedule or by the teachers' individual schedules, where they have, I guess, what we would call at a collegiate level, office hours.
Okay.
Where they would be available for students or even to respond to families. We can do that via our school district email system. Every student has an email. We could potentially use good old fashioned telephones, and we are looking at each building pretty much K through 12 with a few exceptions per subject at the high school level using the Google Classroom platform. That is not to say that teachers can also not use things like they've used in the past, like the Remind app.
Sure. Class Dojo, Mr. Pine was great. Loved it.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry. That's actually the one I know.
So the last question that I do have is, I know you have proposed now to go to the hybrid all the way through that first semester.
First marking period.
First marking period. I'm sorry. First marking period. What is our timeline if we do go forward? How the community, if we choose to go back one way or another, do we have a timeline in place to be able to give the community enough time to adjust to the changing life that's out there right now?
So as far as going back to whether it's 5 days a week in or fully online, I would not. So I'm going to answer the second one first. We are not going to recommend fully online unless the Department of Health says, due to spread in this district, if they were to call us and say, listen, you need to shut it down. We're being told that the Department of Health is going to be doing the contact tracing and the contact to families, if any families have a positive household member. So we will be in ongoing communication with them. As soon as they would recommend that, we would have to get that out there. We are not going to recommend that we go to fully online unless the Department of Health tells us we have to, or the governor shuts it down again like he did in March. So let's go the other direction. Let's say we're talking about, okay, right now the spread is below the threshold numbers where we would be considered a low county, a low transmission county. The Department of Education is recommending that once you think you're going to, once you drop below that that threshold, that you stay in your currently designated threshold for at least 7 days to see if you stay there. So minimally, it would be a week, but I would like to say that you're going to have more like 2 to 3 weeks to say, okay, everything's trending this way. We'll let you know by this date. So I can't give you a definitive, it's going to be 1 week or 2 weeks. We're going to take the guidance from the state.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Link.
You're welcome.
Any other board members?
I have one more question. It's related to LCTI. Are they going to go by alphabet or by school district? How are they going to be in unison with the districts?
So they are breaking their student body, knowing that their student body consists of 9 sending school districts or 9 sending high schools, down by A to L, M through Z. So that's going to that's how they're going to welcome their students in from whatever district is the sending district.
So then our students will be, our plan is in line with LCTI.
What we are recommending is in line with LCTI. I can't speak for every other school district. I just don't know the answer to that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Hey, Matt, it's Michelle Heckman.
Yes, Mrs. Heckman.
Can you explain why we are in a virtual meeting today versus expecting students to go into school 2 days and be at home 2 days?
Sure, that's part of the governor's mitigation plan. So I can actually directly tell you why. Just give me one quick second here. So today, everyone that's listening on our website, on our new website, thank you to the staff members that worked hard to put that in place in our IT department. If you go down to where, just bear with me 1 second here. On the district announcements on the district page, there's a tab, there's a section there that says NLSD Health and Safety Plan. That's right below the picture of the football field. You click on there, and there's now a tab that was just posted a few hours ago, which we will be communicating out, NSLD Health and Safety Plan Frequently Asked Questions. If you click on there, there's specific guidance to why we have to hold the meetings virtually. So the question is, are school board meetings considered gatherings under the governor's mitigation order, and can they still meet? The answer is yes. A school board meeting is a gathering. Meetings may be held, but must follow the gathering limitations outlined in the order if meeting in person. So the mitigation plan says the order does not apply to classroom settings, but does apply to school activities outside of the classroom that are not related to educational instruction. That would be a school board meeting. School activities and gatherings not related to educational instruction that are held indoors are limited to no more than 25 people. So knowing that we have 9 school board members plus the administrative team, we're already just about at 25, and there's no equitable way for us to say these 3 people can now come in and everybody else has to view online. So it's actually part of the governor's mitigation order.
Thank you. That answers
You're welcome.
I knew the answer to it, but that's the question that I get asked the most frequently, which is a real question. And I think it's important to explain why we are online versus in person, because we can't control the number of people that would attend a meeting. We would never, turn someone away from a public board meeting. My next question is, can you speak to the school start times and if they will be changing under the hybrid model or staying the same now that we have less students coming into the building every day?
As of now, we are not anticipating the start or end times. Okay, so we're going to hold as they were previously shared out. Michelle or Mrs. Heckman, I'd like to go back to your first question. I and the rest of the administrative team and pretty much all the staff realize that the directives that we are getting from the state level are contradictory to other directives we are getting from the state level. They almost seem hypocritical. They're saying you may open up school buildings 5 days, but you cannot gather outside of a classroom if there's more than 25 people. Same thing with, even with sports. So we are getting conflicting messages, and it's very frustrating, and that's kind of been the norm really since last March. So I acknowledge that some things just don't make sense as they're coming down from the state level.
Thank you. I just we're aware of that as the board because we're, in it, not every day, but almost every day, just like you are. But I wanted everyone listening to this meeting to understand where those things come from and why they are the way that they are. And it's not because you or we want to make, a rule that is contradictory or hypocritical, but it's because it's what we're forced to do. So that's the way it is.
Thank you, Mrs. Heckman.
Any other board members?
Mr. Fedorcha, if I may.
Yes.
I along with you and Bob, had the pleasure of attending that meeting this morning. And I think the point that the association members brought out was safety. Safety first, safety, safety, safety. And that was their main concern. And I share that concern for our entire staff and our students. And I believe, in all honesty, looking at this plan, we are providing maybe not quite as much educational opportunity, but we're certainly providing a lot more safety opportunity for our staff and students. I would therefore move that we accept the plan that Matt made and I just introduced, and I don't know if I have to read that. Broken down A to L, some kids coming, or some students, coming Monday and Tuesday, everyone off Wednesday, others Thursday and Friday, exceptions for special needs students, etc. We would attempt to keep that in place for the first marking period. We would only change if for some reason the governor mandates that we shut down, or the numbers mandate that we shut down. But we would try and stay on that basic hybrid program as Mr. Link suggested. And I so move.
I thank you, Mr. Green. what I am going to do, just so I can, before you, is I believe I will need a second for that. Once that is moved and seconded, it then continues to be open for discussion. As I stated at the beginning of the meeting, if there is anybody out in the community who would like to address an issue that is on the agenda, which this is, we would do it at that time. So what I will do is I will take your motion, I will ask for a second, I will then ask Mr. Hill to let us know how many people of the public are wanting to talk to this issue, and also if there's duplicates, and we also know that. With that in mind, I will accept a person to second a motion.
Mr. Fedorcha, this is Robin Disler. I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you. So now it's been properly moved and second. I will not take a vote until we go through all types of possible questions. So first of all, anybody from the board?
I do have one more question. It's Mrs. Heckman. Hi. I do have one more question. So is it possible in certain grades that the teacher that you're learning from on a Monday and Tuesday, if you're in school on Monday and Tuesday, would not be the teacher that is instructing you on a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday?
That is a possibility, but what we're trying to do is have those teachers kind of be that contact person for the children, even if they're in the remote setting, if they're participating in the hybrid option. But a lot of that is going to be kind of on that Wednesday time frame, and then when they can throughout that kind of rest of the week. But it's not necessarily going to be that on Tuesday and Thursday when the students that were in, when the students are home Thursday and Friday, they're not going to have as much direct access to the classroom teacher that they had Monday and Tuesday.
So can I summarize back to you just so I understand it 100%? So the same teacher would be setting the lessons, but let's say there's another teacher on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday that's available for extra direction, questions, help, etc.
Yeah,
Yep.
They will have one assigned teacher for their subject. However, they may be getting support from different teachers and support staff members throughout the course of the week.
Thank you. That makes more sense.
You're welcome.
Mr. Link, I have a question. Mr. Green's motion, does it include, I know our timeline is the first marking period. Does it include any thought that an outside organization can come in, whoever it might be, CDC, whatever, our own health professionals in Pennsylvania can say our plan is to be changed? Or you yourself as the superintendent of schools have the authority to say, you know what, I think we need to continue this till the second marking period. What I'm asking for is there some leeway that you have that, you know, instead of having this discussion again and again and again, that it's more seamless for you to make that decision, obviously informing everybody and getting input, but that we don't have to keep voting on the same thing over and over again.
Yes. So that's built into the plan. I thought for this evening that I wanted to hear the voice and opinion of each school board member. Yes, we could be directed to by a state authority or federal authority higher than us. So to answer that side of the question, yes. If we're going to make that decision at a local level, meaning from input from the administrative team, myself, guidance from the PA Department of Health, yeah, we could extend that. Without going through this exact process again, Mr. Kern. The plan allows for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Mr. Hill, do we have parents or any public out there that would like to address on this issue?
Mr. Fedorcha, there are a lot of questions and comments. A lot of them we already covered, I believe, in most of what we went over. I will just ask one of the first ones. A parent had a concern, Denise Pioli. Really, the concern was why did we wait 21 days before school opens to recommend the hybrid plan? thereby ensuring undue difficulty, stress to working parents. When this could have been done weeks ago.
So, thank you, Mrs. Pioli. As I had said a few moments ago, the recommendations from the state have changed. We've listened to feedback from community members. I've listened to feedback. We've listened from feedback from our teachers. We've listened to feedback, or I should say, we have observed what's been happening in other states as they open fully and how quickly they have to shut down due to spread. And we are continuing to track the numbers, even right here in Lehigh County, Northampton County, right down to Slatington and Walnut Port as well on a daily basis. So our available information has changed, and we now have a very strong recommendation coming right from our Department of Education.
Okay. And there was a question asked quite a bit, and again, I believe this was covered, but maybe we just want to clarify. There seems to be a lot of confusion between the lessons at Bulldog Academy versus our own teachers. There was a lot of those questions, so I'm just going to generalize, but maybe we just want to clarify that one more time because I see that same question over and over again.
Sure, and we'll add these questions to the FAQ as well. That FAQ will continue to grow. Bulldog Academy is not Northern Lehigh teachers. It is asynchronous, meaning that there is very little live instruction or connection to the actual teacher of the course. Whereas what we're looking to offer K through 12 is more direct support from our teachers, Northern Lehigh school districts, current staff. The Bulldog Academy is it's a state aligned, it's a curriculum aligned to the PA core standards, but it's not necessarily directly relying to the Northern Lehigh scope and sequence of curriculum. It is a third-party vendor.
Thank you, Mr. Link.
You're welcome.
Mr. Fedorcha, I have another question.
No, wait, Mr. Kern, please.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Well, all right. Why don't you ask that, then I'll come back to Eric. Go ahead, Mr. Kern.
Real simple, real fast. It's funny, I just got an email from a parent asking that is Y-Care going to be available as was in the past for before or after school?
So for the children that would be in during that day, we are not looking to stop Y-Care.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And
Eric,
I would like to add, excuse me for 1 second, Mr. Fedorcha.
That's fine.
That our administration, in particular, Mr. Schneiderite and Dr. Stoker, have been working closely with Y-Care and the Head Start program at Peters.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hill, back to you.
Excuse me, Mr.
yes,
Link. This is
go ahead.
Mrs. Martineau. I just got an email as well that's asking
Michelle,
about the lunch.
Mrs. Martineau.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't hear you, Mr. Fedorcha.
These are questions coming into you, and we need to address them. But right now,
Okay.
I would prefer we just stay with Mr. Hill, and then keep that question after we're finished. Anyone else on the board who is receiving things from parents, please ask them. We want to know that, but I think we just need to stay with one direction, please.
Yeah, so all questions should go in through the chat line, and we will answer, we will cluster the questions together by topic, but please also know that many of the questions are, if not presently on the FAQ, they will be added to the FAQ.
Again, back, Mr. Hill, please continue.
Yes, there's a question about what about the children who require additional help with reading? I'm just going to generalize, but her son is already behind some of the classmates and just wants to know, is there going to be a plan for students to get extra help?
So for those individual type cases, what I'm going to say is you're going to have to reach out directly to your building principal. If your son or daughter is a child with an IEP, you can reach out to Mrs. Dada, our Director of Special Education. But yes, we're still looking to be able to support children to the greatest extent possible with the needs that they have.
Okay. Mr. Hill?
Okay, and I'm going to ask another question here because again, this one has to do with the Bulldog Academy. There just seems to be a little confusion. To be clear, if full remote is decided for a family, a virtual distance teacher will be an option and Bulldog Academy enrollment is not required. Is that correct?
We're never requiring it.
Yeah, that's what we're looking to do. But please know that it's not going to be live synchronous instruction all day for children that choose that option. I can't emphasize that enough.
Okay, and a lot of the other questions, again, a lot of the questions have to do with, there's some parents that are asking about times, things of that nature, which I believe we will be addressed on our FAQ and other communications. I think those were the main questions that I see for now. I'm going to scan through them again if I see any, but that's what I see for now. Those were the main questions.
And Eric, Mr. Hill, if there's anything that is really pertinent, we could do that again at the end. I'll come back to you at the end of the meeting to do that.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of comments and things, so I'm trying to keep track of it all.
I appreciate. I can't imagine your job right now. And Mrs. Martineau, I did not want to be abrupt to you, but I really wanted to keep on a track. I am going to refer to you now, please.
Oh, that's quite all right, Mr. Fedorcha. The question was regarding food insecurity if during a hybrid model. Do we have a plan for continuing to provide lunches and breakfasts to students?
So we are currently trying to work through what that may look like in a hybrid model for the what we've been calling the grab and go lunch line for children who are not attending on that day. Once we have more specificity on that, we will put it out on the FAQ.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Mr. Link. This is Gail again. Just to confirm, we are staying on course to start school on the original first day of school, correct? We're not going to push that. We're still looking status quo for that.
Correct. We're continuing with the August 31st start date for students.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Any other questions? If there are no other questions, I will refer to our motion that is on the table. We do have a motion to approve to go to the hybrid with the idea that we would make changes after the first semester, first rating period, if need be, but continuing with it, answering all those questions. I do have a motion and a second, and now I will look to you, Mrs. Suzak, to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha. Mr. Green.
Yes.
Ms. Heckman.
Yes.
Ms. Husak. Yes. Mr. Keegan.
Yes.
Mr. Kern.
Absolutely, yes.
Ms. Culp. Ms. Culp. Ms. Martineau.
Yes.
Mr. Disler.
Yes.
Ms. Culp.
Mrs. Culp, if you can hear us, can you enter your answer into the chat box?
I see her microphone still open, so I'm not. Mrs. Culp?
She just went away.
We haven't noticed that she just left the meeting, so it just popped up. So
Okay.
I would say move through, and we can give her an opportunity to weigh in if she comes back into the meeting.
Okay.
Mr.
Continue.
Fedorcha.
Yes.
Motion would pass.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. I also want to echo much that was said. I want to compliment the administration. I want to compliment the association, the teachers, all of our staff. It's been a tremendous job, and we're all going through a lot of things within our own mind, what this COVID is doing to us. But I know that one thing that for sure in Lehigh, we'll do the best we can for our students, our community, and making sure that we have a wonderful program for everyone. Thank you, all of you. All right, we're going to move on with the agenda.
Mr. Fedorcha, we still have another part of the superintendent's update.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to go to you. You have two more items, but I want to get this one's done for now. Go ahead, Mr. Glenn.
Thank you. So tonight, I would also like to formally recommend to the school board that we delay the start of formal mandatory sports season until no sooner than the end of the first week of school. So that's September 3rd, which is a Thursday, but because it's a short week due to the holiday, there's no school on Friday and there's no school on that Monday. So that would take us to September 8th. PIAA is supposed to give an update on August 21st on their timeline for the start of sports. They have paused sports through August 21st, which is a Friday. I feel strongly that we should focus on the opening schools and see how that goes prior to making sports mandatory. I am comfortable with the voluntary sessions continuing as is, starting again tomorrow. However, I think it's appropriate that the school board also has an opportunity to weigh on our return to formal sports with mandatory practices. So at that point, I'm asking Mr. Fedorcha if you could open the discussion for the school board members on that topic as well.
Okay, any questions from school board members? Okay, go ahead. Anybody?
I do have a question. It's Mrs. Heckman. So we're talking mandatory versus voluntary. So let's say if football starts on Tuesday and everyone chooses to come, can they come versus they can't be penalized if they do not come? Can you clarify those designations?
Correct. So if students and families decide not to practice in voluntary sports, that cannot be a decision point as to whether they would be on a team or not. They have the opportunity to come back once we formally reopen sports.
Thank you. I have a follow-up.
Sure.
So some club teams like the NLYA, et cetera, conduct their summer practices on our grounds. How are we handling those practices?
Well, we have decided that outdoor facilities would continue to be available, not indoor because of the time it takes to clean. I would strongly encourage the NLYAA to follow kind of our timeline. However, I understand that they have their own board of directors as well. We are in ongoing communication with them. I would be comfortable with them, while we're having our voluntary practices, if they were to mirror that as well. Our formal decision will not be made before, that first week of September, though. Another part of it is, though, the PIAA comes out and says that there will be no sports in fall whatsoever. We of course, will default to that.
Do you want a formal motion on that, Gary, or are we just going to say we're going to stay status quo, or how do you want to handle that?
I would say, unless there's an objection, to be safe, I think we need to take a motion on that so that we can go on record, Mr. Green. And if you're willing to do that, I would accept that motion from you.
If I may, again, just kind of sum up what he said, I would recommend that we do voluntary practices until that date, I think was September 8th. And then take another look at it. I think opening the school is more important than what we have to worry about there. If the PIAA or the governor comes down with another mandate, obviously we have to follow that. But voluntary practice is no repercussion for any team members, and then revisit the possibility of September 8th. So that's my motion.
And Mr. Green, if I may, voluntary practices could begin again as early as tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Oh, if I didn't say that, I would make that part of my motion. Yes. And like I said, I have full faith in Mr. Geis to take care of that and make it work. And I think from what I hear, he's been doing a great job, and everything's been running pretty well so far. So thank you. And that's my motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Bob Kern.
Okay. Any other questions regarding the sports? Seeing none?
Eric, Mr. Green, can we follow the same model and ask Eric if there's any questions related to this?
Yes, let's please do that.
I do not see any questions regarding the sports.
Okay, if something comes up, Eric, as we get to the end, we certainly will address those if that's going to be a question. I certainly don't want to exclude anybody at any time. I also want to state that this is called.
We just had one question come in.
Okay.
From Megan Nicole. How are we allowing sports to happen, voluntary or mandatory, if we cannot go back to school a full 5 days a week?
We are allowing for, or we're recommending the allowing for the voluntary because of the controls, the tight controls that we have in place at the voluntary sessions. We've been fortunate that we have not had any students, any documented symptoms occurring. And I think at this point, we're probably at close to 2,000 individual screenings since the voluntary practices have begun. Additionally, another part of this is we want to control as much as we can our students not being competing, scrimmaging, or competing against students from other districts at this time. So far, we've been successful in controlling it at the voluntary level.
Okay, thank you. Eric, anything else?
No more questions regarding sports.
Okay. I will, we have been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha. Ms. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Husak? Yes. Mr. Keegan?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Ms. Culp?
Yes.
Ms. Martineau?
Yes.
Mr. Disler?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Fedorcha?
Yes.
Motion passes. Mr.
Okay.
Fedorcha, could I go back to our health and
Yes, could you
safety
please go
vote
back,
and ask
Mrs. Culp's
Ms.
on. I'm
Culp?
sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Mrs. Culp, going back to the health and safety plan with the motion that was presented, are you a yay or nay for accepting of the motion that was presented for the health and safety plan?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Culp. Mr. Fedorcha, both those motions passed in full.
I thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Link, I believe you have one more thing, unless you have more than one. I don't know.
No, Mr. Fedorcha, that was it for my report this evening.
What about the donations? Or is that not?
Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. I got sidetracked.
That's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha. I was looking at my wrong set here.
I understand. Trust me, I'm going back and forth.
I would like to publicly thank tonight Hope Lutheran Church. They have been great partners in our meals program since this all started. Recently, they have donated a check through a change drive that they conducted, a check for $638.30, and food donations of totaling $700 for our Backpack Buddy program. So again, Hope Lutheran Church, we thank you for the support that you've given to our students and their families through the school shutdowns and through our summer meals program and now into our fall. Thank you. It means so much for you to be able to support our students and their families like that.
Thank you, Mr. Link.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Link, may I just ask one question about the grab and go meals? Do you have any idea of how many of those we've served so far? And maybe you can get some help on that, but a couple hundred, 1,000. I'm only kidding.
So I'm going to let Mrs. Bonick answer that. She would have the most up-to-date numbers, but I am going to say I am extremely proud of how many meals that we were able to distribute. So, Sue, are you able to open your mic and share those numbers out?
For how many we've served for summer feeding?
Yes, please.
Yeah, for the month of July, I know we served 6,908 breakfasts and the same for lunch. For the month of June, we did, let's see, 2,100 and wait, that it's got to be low. I think 5,819 meals. We serve breakfasts and lunches in the month of June, and then 6,908 in July. And the numbers are going down for the month of August, but our last day is Thursday of this week, so we kind of anticipated that.
So altogether, what I'm hearing is approximately we serve 26,000 meals, combination of breakfast and summer through the summer.
In the 2 months, and then you might have another, maybe another 2,000, 2,500 at the end of this week.
Sue, congratulations to you and your team. That is utterly remarkable.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Anybody else? Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll move on then. We did have an executive session this evening for personnel and legal. We also had an executive session held on August 5th for personnel and legal issues. Moving then onto our personnel, and I'm going to ask Mr. Link, is there a change at all to the personnel?
Yes, we are looking to remove item B from the agenda. So item B will not be voted on this evening. So it'll be items A and then items C through Q. And Q is on the addendum to the agenda, also personnel items.
Thank you very much. So we are going to, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve item A, C through Q, including Q, which is on an addendum. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel items?
Bob Keegan, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Mrs. Martineau, second.
Any questions, board? All those, well, I'm sorry, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Thank you. Ms. Husak, yes. Mr. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Kern,
Yes.
Ms. Culp, Ms. Culp,
Yes.
thank you. Ms. Martineau,
Yes.
Mr. Disler, Mr. Disler,
Yes, sorry.
thank you. That's okay. Mr. Green,
Yes.
Ms. Heckman,
Yes.
Mr. Fedorcha.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We do that. I have a question. I'm sorry, I had lost connection. Was this about a transportation in there at all?
I'm sorry, those were personnel agenda items that we voted on, Mr. Disler?
Yeah, was that this for this one? Because
There
I knew
was
some.
transportation in there.
Pardon me?
There was
I have to-
transportation.
Yes, I have to refrain from the transportation. Sorry.
So are you abstaining?
Abstaining, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Disler.
Okay. All right. All right. It's been, okay. It's been moved and seconded and voted on, and there's one abstention, and I believe that it passed then. Is that correct?
Yes, it did, Mr. Fedorcha.
Anything on conferences?
So Mr. Fedorcha, if I may just take a moment before we go on to the next agenda item. We have, some retirements for some people that have been really just kind of cornerstones to Northern Lehigh School District. I would like to wish Edie Fella a happy retirement. I would like her to know that the amount of children that she has helped in our district is just phenomenal. 36 years of service, you can't replace that. So Edie, I wish you well moving forward, and please keep in touch. Same for Nancy Rarick out of our business office. She has 37 years of experience in the district. Nancy, I've enjoyed seeing you here every morning, and I'm going to miss our little chats as we're coming in and passing by each other at the copier machine. This one really kind of hits home. Sharon, I know that you were having connectivity problems up near where you live this evening. Sharon Sherman has been my confidential secretary, my administrative assistant since I started here. She is an amazing person. She is a dear friend, and I wish her nothing but happiness as her and her husband start their new journey in Florida. And all the best to you. And I'm grateful for the time that I had to work with you. I would also like to recognize tonight two people that we have on the live session. And that is our two new health and physical education teachers, Mr. Ryan Cunningham and Mr. Damon Rex. You two have clearly separated yourself from as going through the interview process. Congratulations to you. Welcome to being a Bulldog. And I know for Mr. Rex, you are an alum of the school district. And Mr. Cunningham, I know the enthusiasm that you brought from being in an education family. I know that our students are going to benefit from that as well here in Northern Lehigh. So congratulations to both of you. Feel free to open up your mics if you would like to say anything to the school board.
I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm really excited and appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Damon.
Superintendent Link, this is Damon Rex. Members of the board, I just want to thank you very much for this great opportunity. I look forward to teaching at Northern Lehigh School District. It's what I've wanted to do my whole career.
Great. Thank you, Damon. And thank you, Ryan.
Thank you both.
I'd like to just echo with on behalf of the board to the retirees. You're going to be missed. Definitely. You have been staples here for many years. And that's one thing I'm very proud of, that our employees at Northern Lehigh like it working here, to stay here for a long time. And I really want, and Sharon particularly, working with me as president, I thank you over and over. And I certainly wish both of you new employees long life with Northern Lehigh.
Mr. Fedorcha, if I may, I had the opportunity to have my son have Mrs. Fella as a first grade teacher. I know she's now the reading person, and it's going to be a great loss for the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Anything else, Mr. Link? I'm sorry.
No, we can move through the next section on the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha.
No problem. Thank you very much. Okay, then we're going to move into policy. I will accept a motion for the policy items A through D. A through D.
This is Mrs. Martineau, so moved.
This is Gail Husak, second.
Any questions? All those in favor, roll call, please. Roll call, please.
Sorry, Mr. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Kern,
Yes.
Ms. Culp,
Yes.
Ms. Martineau,
Yes.
Mr. Disler,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Ms. Heckman,
Yes.
Ms. Husak, yes, Mr. Fedorcha.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Are there any conferences?
There are no
Okay.
conferences.
Thank you. Curriculum and instruction. I have a motion to approve the curriculum instructions items A through G. Do I have a motion to do so?
This is Mrs. Culp, so moved.
Do I have a second?
This is Rob, and I second.
Any questions? All those in favor signify. I'm sorry. Gosh, I'm so conditioned. We've been doing this for how many months now? Anyway, Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Sure. Mr. Kern,
Yes.
Ms. Culp,
Yes.
Ms. Martineau,
Yes.
Mr. Disler,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Ms. Heckman,
Yes.
Ms. Husak, yes, Mr. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Fedorcha.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Is there any old business? New
There is
business.
not.
Okay, we have one new business item. It's the emergency instructional time template. I will accept a motion to approve that.
So moved. This is Mr. Green.
Bob Keegan, seconds.
Any questions on that plan? Roll call, please.
Ms. Culp,
Yes.
Ms. Martineau,
Yes.
Mr. Disler,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Ms. Heckman,
Yes.
Ms. Husak, yes. Mr. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Kern,
Yes.
Mr. Fedorcha.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Financial items, I will accept a motion to approve the financial items A through G. A through G.
This is Robin. I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions on the financials? Roll call, please.
Ms. Martineau,
Yes.
Mr. Disler,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Ms. Heckman,
Yes.
Ms. Husak, yes. Mr. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Kern,
Yes.
Ms. Culp,
Yes.
Mr. Fedorcha.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Is there any legal?
There's
Madam
not.
Secretary, any correspondence?
No, not this evening.
Thank you. There are some information items there for you, board members, of the minutes of the Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit, Carbon County Community College, and LCTI. Now, before I adjourn, I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Hill. Do you have anything else that you have from our public?
Yeah, there's one question that's been coming up over and over again here recently. So I will ask the question. There's been a lot of, it's been quite a few different people. They've asked if we are going to be doing temperature checks. That would be, are we checking temperatures on the bus? Are we checking them at school? Or are people going to be required to self-check before they come to school? Was a question quite a few people asked here at the end of the meeting.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Hill. So we are continuing to ask our families to go through the screening process at home. Those reminder cards will be hitting the mail shortly. So we are encouraging and actually asking for your help to take your children's temperature before they leave home. We are unable to do it at the bus stops for safety reasons, with monitoring the children at the bus stop, getting onto the bus, and the children are already on the bus, all while parked on the side of the road. We are unable to do it there. However, we are putting a plan in place to screen, to take the temperatures of each child as they go into each building each morning. So we are working towards that. We will be doing that at the start of the school year. Please know that if we need to isolate a child due to their temperature, that we will be reaching out to the families to come in and pick up their child.
This is Gary Fedorcha. Can I just add one thing? And basically, I'm just going to put a plead out to parents that this is a double check, yes, but if your child should have a temperature, please make sure you do check it before they come on the bus. We don't want to infect kids on the bus, but also we don't want to put your child into the point of having to detain them at school and waiting for someone else to pick them up. So please, please, parents, do take the temperature before they come to school. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions, Mr. Hill?
No, I think the other questions that were asked were addressed in the FAQ.
Okay. Seeing none, board, do you have any comments?
Mr. Fedorcha, I'd just like to make a comment. This is Gail. Again,
Sure.
I just want to say thank you to the teachers, the administration, the students, our community, as we kind of go through all of this rocky road, and we're all in it together. And I think that's what we have to keep doing. So thanks again to everybody for your support and your help, and hopefully for a good 2021 school year. Thank you. I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting, Mr. Fedorcha.
Okay. Do I have a second? Come on, people. Somebody got to make it.
Bob Keegan, second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion
Aye.
carries. Yes, sir. Did somebody want to say something?
No, I just said aye, that's all.
Okay. Anyway, again, as always, thank you everyone for being online. Thank you, board, for being here, administration for being here, and everyone else. And please stay well and stay safe. Good night, everyone.
Have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Right.
Good night.